The phone in his office was ringing as Inspector Watkins went in. He strode over to his desk and lifted the phone. "Watkins here." "Inspector," came a man's voice from the earpiece. "This is Lord Mexton. I'm at Mexton Hall." He sounded very angry. "I've been robbed. All the family silver and jewels gone. I can't believe it. I'm ruined." "Sorry to hear that, sir," Watkins answered. "I'll have a man sent over right away." "I don't want a man sent over," thundered Lord Mexton. "I want you, and quickly." "Yes, sir. I'll be there in about half an hour." Inspector Watkins put the phone down and sat there for a moment. The Mextons were the richest family in the country, and they were also the meanest. The present Lord Mexton, who had phoned him, was an old man well into his 70s. His wife had died a few years before, but his children, now all grown up and with families of their own, came to see him quite often. Watkins couldn't really feel sorry that the Mexton fortune had been stolen, but at the same time, he was a senior police officer with a job to do. He decided to drive up to Mexton Hall on his own, and half an hour later he was standing on the gravel drive outside the Great Hall where 2 or 3 other cars were parked. Lord Mexton himself was by the huge oak door, waiting for him, his face twisted with anger. "In here," said Lord Mexton, without a word of greeting. Watkins followed him up 2 flights of stairs and along a corridor, the old man almost running because he was so upset. At the end of the corridor was a door. It did not seem to go with the hall, because it was metal and modern. "Through here is the great drawing room," Lord Mexton said. "There is no way that anyone can get through this door, except me. I'm not going to tell even you how it works, no one else knows the secret. But I'm sure the thief did not come in this way." All at once the door slid open. Watkins, who was quite an expert on locks, had no idea how Lord Mexton had opened it. He followed him into the great drawing room. It was a large room indeed. On one wall stood a great glass-fronted case now empty, with one door hanging open. Lord Mexton was almost in tears as he looked at it. "There's no way he could have got into the room," he said. "I just can't understand it." "Well, sir, perhaps I'd better check on that if I may. I take it that the door we've just come through is the only door into the room." "Yes, this room is the last room on the west wing." Watkins walked over to the windows, which ran the length of the room. Each one was barred, on the outside. None of the bars had been touched and there was no sign that any of the windows had been forced. Besides, they were on the 3rd floor of the building. "Your thief didn't come in that way," he remarked. "Any fool can see that," snapped Lord Mexton. "I've told you, there's no way he could have got in." "All the same, I'll check," replied the inspector calmly. He went on to tap each panel round the room. Every one was solid and firm, no hidden doors. Then he did the same all over the floor, again without success. Only the ceiling was left, and it was easy to see that it was unmarked. He turned to Lord Mexton. "Now then, sir, tell me, when did you last see the silver and the jewels?" "Last night when I locked this room up," came the reply. "And when did you realize you'd been robbed?" "About 9:30 this morning." "I see. Well, Lord Mexton, it seems clear to me that, since the thief could not have got into the room after you'd locked it, he must have been there already." "Don't be such an idiot," shouted Lord Mexton. "Haven't I just told you that I locked the room myself last night? If anyone had been there, I would have been bound to see him." "Probably," replied Watkins, trying to remain calm. "I noticed some cars parked near the hall when I arrived this morning. Can you tell me how many people are staying here at the moment?" "Yes, there are 24. Yesterday was my 75th birthday, and my 5 children came to stay, along with their husbands and wives, and a few other relatives and friends." "Sort of a birthday party, then?" asked the inspector. "Of course," snorted the old man. "Don't often bother with them myself, not a lot of fun, counting the years go by, when you get to my age." "But Diana, that's my brother's wife, said she would give a party for the whole family, and pay for it too." The inspector pricked his ears up. Spending lots of money was not usual in the Mexton family. "Where did you hold the party?" he asked, feeling that he was on to something. "Why, in here, of course," replied Lord Mexton. "It's the only suitable room in the hall. Every party for over 200 years has been held in the great drawing room." Inspector Watkins strode over to the glass-fronted case. One glance told him all he needed to know, for scratched into one of the wooden shelves was a large letter D. His old enemy, Don Teeny. He might have known. Don Teeny, who had teased and worried Watkins for the last 10 years, with one impossible theft after another. He had left his mark on the Hope Diamond fake case, the Great Art case, and many other crimes. Yet Watkins could not help admiring him, for he was very clever, very funny, and even quite fair in a way, for he only robbed the meanest of the rich, and was never violent. Watkins turned to Lord Mexton. "Well, I know who did it, but not how it was done, yet," he said. "You what?" he asked an astonished Lord Mexton. Watkins repeated what he had said. "Now I want you to tell me exactly what happened at your party last night, until the time when you yourself locked up this room," he went on. "Well, we all met for dinner, here in the great drawing room, at 8 o'clock. All 24 of you. Yes, 25 counting me. We had a sherry and then dinner at 8:30. Did your own staff see to the meal?" Watkins asked. "No, as I told you, Diana fixed up the whole thing. Some firm in the city came out to do it. They did all the cooking, brought their own waiters, even did the washing up, I think." "I see. Did they stay overnight?" "Not on your life. They were off as soon as they'd done their job, about 11 o'clock. Can't say I blame them, and it was a very good meal, too," he added with a frown. "So, apart from this firm who cooked the food, there was no one here except your family and friends?" "That's true, and the people who put on the show," Lord Mexton replied. "Show?" asked Watkins sharply. "What show?" "Another of Diana's ideas," said Lord Mexton. "She thought it would liven things up if we had a show after dinner, and so she'd hired some people from London." Inspector Watkins was picking up the trail. "I want you to tell me very carefully," he said, "just what these people did." "See for yourself," the old man answered, taking from his pocket a printed sheet. Diana had a complete program for the evening. He handed it over to the inspector, who read it out. Billy O'Connor, the pride of Erin. A comic. That's what he was supposed to be. I didn't find him funny, I'm afraid. Wing and Wang, Chinese juggling. I shouldn't think they'd been further east than Southend, said Lord Mexton, but they weren't bad. That leaves us with the great Alberty, magic and mystery. Now he was very good, Lord Mexton said. He had a girl working with him. At the end of his act she stood in a large box, then he drew a curtain across the front of it. She put a hand out to show she was still there. Then a couple of seconds later he pulled the curtain back and she'd gone. Would you believe it? And where do you think she turned up, 5 seconds later? Outside the great drawing-room door. Smiled the inspector. How did you know that? Gasped Lord Mexton, astonished for the second time that day. Lord Mexton, do you believe in magic? Of course not, don't be a fool, he replied shortly. Then how do you suppose Alberty made the girl disappear and come back? Well, it must have been a trick of some kind. Yes, said the inspector. Do you think the girl could have left the room without anyone seeing her, and then turned up outside the door? No, there's no way she could have done that. Then there's only one answer, said the inspector. There wasn't just one girl, there were two. Twins, no doubt. The first one was hidden and then the second appeared outside the door. And the first one stayed hidden for the rest of the party, said Lord Mexton, as the truth slowly dawned on him. Right. And when you'd locked up, she came out, took the silver and jewels, got back into her hiding place and waited till morning, he said. Now, where's this box that the great Alberty, who was, of course, Don Teeny, was using? The old man hung his head. It's gone, he said. Albertini asked if he could leave it here in the great drawing-room for the night as it was heavy and awkward to move. I bet he did, said Inspector Watkins. He said he'd move it this morning at 9:30. That's when I opened the room up and saw everything had gone. And Alberty? Asked the inspector. He and the girl carried the box out to their van. I didn't see any reason to keep them waiting, and they said they had a long drive to do another show tonight. He looked very sad. That's it, then, said Watkins. The box must have had a secret layer, and that's where the first girl was hidden. I'm afraid they've made fools of us, sir. Is there no chance I'll get it back? Asked Lord Mexton, in a hopeless voice. It must be worth £250,000. I can only tell you, I'm afraid, that we've been trying to catch Don Teeny for 10 years, replied the inspector. But there may be one hope. Would you send up your sister-in-law, Diana, to see me, please? Surely you don't think she could have had anything to do with it? Asked the old man, horrified. I'd like a word with her, replied Watkins, quietly. And don't say anything to her about what we have been saying. Lord Mexton went downstairs, and in a couple of minutes Diana came in. Though she tried to appear calm, the inspector's trained eye could see that she was very upset. He began by asking her a few straightforward questions, but then, in the same friendly manner, while she was off guard, he suddenly slipped in a trick question. How much did you pay Alberty's 2 girls' helpers last night? He asked. £20 each, Diana answered, without thinking. The inspector paused. How did you know there were 2 of them? He asked quietly. Only one was seen, and no magician would ever tell you how his tricks were done. Diana was silent. There's only one way you could have known, isn't there? The inspector pressed on. You hired them to rob Lord Mexton, didn't you? Diana's face was white. She tried to say it was not true, but it was no use. The old miser, she cried. I didn't see why he should end up with all the money. My husband was his brother, and we never had a penny. Their father was a nasty old man, and William, Lord Mexton, was always his favourite, two of a kind, I suppose. He left everything to William. Every time he has a party, it's in this room, so we all have to look at his great wealth. I thought it was time this side of the family had a share. And you got Don Teeny to come and do this deed? Asked the inspector. How did you contact him? Oh no. I can't tell you that. I know the police are looking for him, but he's far too clever to be caught. And I'm certainly not going to help you. We'll see about that, replied the inspector. You will have to go to court and tell all you know. They'll get it out of you. Oh no, Don Teeny mustn't be caught. He'll give you a run for your money, and I hope you never catch up with him. The inspector steered her towards his car. In a way, so do I, he thought to himself.